And we're back in Emerald Hill Zone. So unlike Sonic 1, I'm going to show off how to get the Chaos Emeralds because 1, I think they're pretty easy to get, and 2, I think it's actually worth getting them. You can actually collect all the emeralds in Emerald Hill Zone. There are just enough checkpoints that you can do it. I think that's why it's called Emerald Hill Zone instead of it just being a callback to the first game. All you have to do is get 50 rings, hit the checkpoint, and jump into the special stage. There seems to be a lot of extra checkpoints in Emerald Hill Zone, but be careful because if you pass one, get a checkpoint beyond it, and then try to go back, it won't work because the checkpoint will be used. When you exit the special stage, you don't really have to worry about collecting too many rings because they reset, and you start with 0, so don't get hit. The concept of special stages are pretty simple. Get enough rings and reach the goal. Do it 3 times and you get the emerald. The first special stage is pretty easy and there's lots of room for error. I feel pretty confident in saying you can always get this emerald. If you get hit, you lose 10 rings, but you can usually overshoot the goal amount by quite a bit, so it shouldn't really damage your final score. And if you mess up, at least in the remastered version, you can just hit pause and retry. So go nuts, but don't go too crazy because you lose a life every time you retry. So something to think about. I think that's pretty fair. A lot of rings are just in the middle of this stage, so just chill in the middle and have a good time. If you look at the stage, it doesn't really appear too demanding. You won't be asked to do crazy things just yet, or be super precise. Oh, and one more final thought. If you're going for the special stages, make sure you don't bring tails with you. Tails can get hit by the bombs and decrease your ring count. Just don't do it. And the first stage is down, the first of many. Special Stage 2 is a bit more challenging, but it's still pretty fair. This stage makes it apparent that you can go on the ceiling, so if you didn't try that before, I recommend it because it's a lot of fun. Other than that, it's just really average. My advice is to jump from side to side so you don't have to swerve in between the bombs. I should probably mention right now that if you can get all the rings in the special stage, you'll get a perfect, but I've never done it, and as you can see, there are certain rings you can't get. I assume you have to do it with tails or with 2 players, because there's kind of 2-player functionality in this game, but I don't really think it's worth it. This stage also has a lot of rings in the middle, but there are a lot of bombs everywhere, so you can't just stay there and just rack up the rings. And that's Special Stage 2! I don't really like Special Stage 3. I think this is one of the harder ones. It's certainly one of the ones I struggled with for a specific section that you sort of have to just remember it's there because you'll never see it coming. You don't really get a warning for that section, so you get blindsided, and then to get your bearings back, you usually just get hit a lot more. So, I don't really like this one. I think this one is pretty unfair. It's certainly doable, but you're gonna cry when you're 4 rings short of the Chaos Emerald. For the first part of the stage, I wouldn't say it's too crazy, but you're going to be seeing a lot of new patterns of bomb placements. Even the second section isn't too bad, there's just more bombs than average. And you can pretty much just jump over all the dangerous sections. So the third section starts off pretty fair. You can see a lot of things coming at you. They give you just enough time to react, then it'll turn a corner and go down a loop, and then suddenly you're expected to react very quickly to something you couldn't see coming. There's 2 or 3 of these little circle loop things where you basically have to jump over them. You won't have enough time to react to them until it's too late. Thank God that's over. Special Stage 4 is a lot of fun, but you're gonna have to memorize some of it because you're gonna be flipping and flopping all over the place. You're gonna want to move from side to side a lot, and the half-pipe has its own physics. Basically, a gravity-like effect is being applied to Sonic while you're on this. It always wants to drag you towards the center. It's not super strong, but you'll feel it as you try to stay on the sides. The best way to stay on the side you want is to lightly tap the direction that you want to go. This will keep you on the side of the pipe, but won't drag you towards the middle, or shoot you too far up the pipe. The only other really difficult part of the stage is knowing what side the rings are going to appear on, and that requires some memorization. But other than that, pretty easy. Part of the easiness can, I think, be attributed to just how many rings you can miss. You can miss a lot of them. Just look how many I miss. The bombs also aren't placed in such a way that would make you want to tear your hair out. The only thing that really bothers me about this stage is the ring placements that are really wide. I don't know how you're supposed to get all of those, or what the purpose is. I guess they gave you more rings than necessary? Maybe? Fourth Chaos Emerald collected. If I could pick a stage that is the most fun, it would probably be Special Stage 5. For one, this special stage encourages you to go on the ceiling a lot, which is really cool, by the way. Can you run on the ceiling in real life? Well, if you can, cool for you, I guess. As for the other parts of the stage, there are several little paths of rings that if you get them all, it just feels really satisfying to get. It's just the purest form of gameplay that just feels good when you get it completely right. I don't know how else to describe it. I used to be able to do it really well. This is also a stage where you're really going to want to have really good mastery over the half-pipe controls. Not mandatory, but it helps a lot. It makes the stage really fun. It's really easy if you know what you're doing to get into a rhythm, and you just sort of ride the half-pipe, kind of naturally, I guess. It's one of those things where you really feel in control of Sonic. Not a lot of games can really offer that to you without a lot of practice. And I think Sonic does it very well with very little practice. And I don't know if they did this on purpose, or if it was deliberately done to show you that it's changing and that it's harder and harder, but the colors of the special stage are different. Yes, there's orange in this stage, but the little outlines, the parts that are supposed to be the little separators, are different colors, and every stage after this will have a different color. I don't know if you noticed that every separator color has been orange up until this point. Now it's green. We did it! We got the yellow one! Special Stage 6 is pretty hard. There are a lot of bombs all over the place. The rings are in such a way that you can miss a lot of them if you don't get it perfectly, so it does require some memorization if you want to get a lot of rings and don't want to get hit by everything. But I would still say this stage is pretty fair. My best advice is just don't get hit. If you're still having trouble with the half-pipe controls at this point, you're probably going to lose at this level a lot. I would say that every level before this required practice, and that you would eventually get it down with enough brute force. I would say that this level, and by extension the next level, requires skill. Though you can acquire skill through practice, you actually need to be very firm with the mechanics on this level and the next level to really do it well. This level is pretty much an amalgamation of all the different types of tests you had to deal with in all the levels before it. It's nothing too major, but you really don't have a lot of room for mistakes on this one. You have jumping from side to side, you have jumping over obstacles, you have several pathways where you sort of have to guide Sonic in the right way, manipulating the physics but without jumping, and you sort of have to develop a rhythm of exactly where the rings are going to be placed in order to get there effectively and get enough rings, while avoiding all the obstacles. I would say it's very satisfying to complete this level. It feels good. And then we got the green one, which is the best one. Not because green is the actual color of emeralds, but because it's my favorite color. And now for the last stage, Special Stage 7. This stage is really fun. Yeah, it can be a little difficult, but if you do well in the beginning, you can have a lot of fun on the later segments. As long as you get a lot of rings before you reach the segments where the rings seem to be placed randomly, you should be able to easily clear this no problem. It's very easy to overshoot the goal amounts for each section, so you shouldn't have any worries about this stage. I even make a few mistakes in this run, and even then I still manage to get the Chaos Emerald, so have fun! They throw so many rings at you in the beginning, I don't know how you could possibly fail this unless you hit a lot of stuff. As far as difficulty goes, I would say that the last level, the one before this, is actually a lot harder. If you have the mechanics down for the half-pipe, this level is a breeze, and it's actually really fun when you get to the sections where they just randomly place the rings around. If you reach the point where the rings are just strewn all about and you don't have enough, just try spinning. That's a good trick. Enjoy the trippy montage and hope you don't get a seizure. I have acquired all 7. Time to make my wish. And now that you have all the Chaos Emeralds, you can turn into Super Sonic! Turning into Super Sonic is pretty simple. All you need to do is get 50 rings, jump, and then hit the jump button again. It's been changed from the Genesis version of Sonic 2, where all you had to do was jump and you would automatically turn into Super Sonic. Now you can sort of choose when you do it. Just don't be like me and try and do the insta-shield, because you don't have that in this game, and then you turn into Super Sonic and then you cry. You gain quite a few benefits turning into Super Sonic. First, you're invincible, you move twice as fast, and you can jump a lot higher. I will say right now that this makes precise platforming impossible, so if you were looking to go a very specific route or do some very specific platforming, you're probably not going to be able to do it. Unless you're really good, I don't know. I guess I'm just not good at using Supersonic. I should also mention that music doesn't turn off until Supersonic ends, so if you wanted to listen to that awesome Mystic Cave Zone music and you accidentally go Supersonic, you're pretty much shit out of luck until you run into rings. It's not a bad song by any means, but it can get a little grating when you hear it constantly. The jingle is just a little too short, and I think that contributes to it. But overall, it's a really cool addition, and I'm glad to see it in every other game, for the most part. It's at least in all the good ones. And that's what matters, right?